Is the world getting better or worse?
Yeah. Well, that depends.
Is that smile because, tell me why you're smiling.
Because we've argued this before.
Just the other day we got into this debate.
Yeah. I think in terms of the market and what is available to me and to the average person on the street, we're living in a much better time. Obviously, food production, healthcare, transport, heating, it's a better world. But where I'm a conservative is that I don't believe that that's foreordained. And I don't believe that just because things are improving generally, that everything is better. You know, there are always trade-offs. Now, it's certainly better if you are African American to be in 2015 than it was to be in 1950. There's no question about that. But that is in no way to say that people in other parts of the country are happier, or that it's better for the religious, or that it's better the environment's better to start a business, for example.
Well, so when we had this debate the other day, you just reminded me of what it is you said to me. I couldn't remember if you said to me, well, you're not truly conservative, or you're not truly political. I can't remember which you said to me. It might have been the first, which is fine with me, by the way. Either accusation is fine with me. Because I believe 100% that the world is getting better, day by day, year by year, decade by decade. On any objective measurement, whatever we're talking about, technology in our phones, lifespans, health, well, everything is getting markedly better.
Not everything is getting markedly better.
Tell me the caveat to this.
Here's
violence is down.
True.
Crime is down.
But violence was up in 1980, and it peaked in 1992, and you would have sat in this chair in 1985 and said everything's better than it was in 1965. But that wouldn't have been true for crime. Similarly,
no, but I wouldn't have looked so narrowly. I would have said, comparing us to 1700, 1800, 1500, violence is down.
Well,
Steven Pinker's written about this. Everything in the course of humanity basically has gotten better over time.
If we're expanding over massive amounts of time, then I agree with you. But I do think it's important because when I was a child, you could fly across the Atlantic in 2 hours. I never did that, but you could on Concorde. That's gone. Not everything moves forward. Not everything gets better. And the dangerous trap that politicians of both parties and the public often falls into is to conceive of history, and I think this is what Buckley was getting at with the quote you mentioned. It was capital H history, I believe. To conceive of history as some sort of self-perpetuating engine that gets better regardless of what anyone does. You hear Obama talk about this all the time, the arc of history. You're on the wrong or the right side of history. He even tries it with groups like ISIS. He says, well, they're on the wrong side of history. They don't care. If you had sat in the early 20th century and said to the relatively prosperous people within the United States, Canada, Western Europe, Britain, even to an extent Australia, everything is going to be worse in 20 years. And in 40 years, 45 years, most of the world will have been destroyed. We will be gassing people for having the wrong opinions or being of the wrong religion. They would have looked at you as if you were crazy. You had technological advance, medical advance, educational advance. I'm not being a downer.
A little bit.
And suggesting that everything is going to go downhill. It's not.
No.
But it's just worth saying that there's no great lesson or law of the universe that says that things have to improve